Dealing with defeat is a challenge for humankind. That was Jurgen Norbert Klopp on the 4th of February 2024. And this is episode 53 of the Late Challenge podcast, in which we will discuss Liverpool Football Club's defeat to Arsenal Football Club, making it only the second time Liverpool have been beaten in the league this season and the second time they've lost in North London, only this time without the help of Well Done Boys, Good Process.
No, you let it go.
Boom. We're also going to have to look at some comments from last week that made me laugh, mainly for taking the piss out of me. And if we've got time, we'll talk some more of our usual nonsense about other things, including the conversation about celebrating winning football games that's been going a bit mad over the past 24 hours. But that might get pushed into our Patreon show, which is a nice segue to some admin first and foremost. So if you've been with us for a while now, you'll know we started off with one free show, then we started a Patreon subscriber show, and then we started doing 2 free shows. And since all of that's happened, Robbo's now got a job. We've moved studios. We are recording on a Monday night, and we are still building this plane and tweaking it as we're flying it. So what we've decided to do, after trialing last week, doing 1 free show instead of 2, we're going to keep that going because it cuts back on the stuff we need to do. It makes all of this a bit more sustainable, means we can carry on. I think we may have got to the point trying to do 3 shows every week where we'd have just fucked it all off, to be perfectly honest. Because it's graft, isn't it? Getting a load of content every week.
It is graft.
As we've said before, you know, this is show 53. I checked before, the anniversary of our first show is actually the 8th of Feb. So we're recording this on Monday the 5th. By the time you watch this or listen to it, it'd be pretty much a year since we started by date. And it's just the 2 of us have done all of them, which may change at some point in the near future. We keep threatening that, but still haven't sorted anything out, have we?
No. I do want to go away, like, you know what I mean? Like, not to jail, on holiday
not
and
to
that.
Jail. Yeah.
You know, like take the kids somewhere and that. So we should probably like properly sort that.
Yeah. Well, I've got
that's one thing.
Break in April.
We always sort of a crowd. What's the word? You know, we ask everyone what you know, for your opinion a lot, don't we? And that's one thing we haven't asked them. Like, who would you like, or maybe we have, who would you like to see as a potential stand-in host one week while one of us goes on holiday?
Yeah,
we've got our ideas, haven't we? But
yeah, we've got a little shortlist already, haven't we?
Yeah.
Some of whom we've asked and some we haven't.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's funny. I often think that about life. Like, you've got no idea who's thinking about asking you about something for ages.
I know, yeah.
Like, you could have someone ready to offer you, and there are people out there, and there's an email or a little message brewing for them saying, do you fancy being a guest host on TLC? So yeah, let us know if you've got any ideas of who you would like to step in for me or Robbo when we're taking a little break. Give us a shout, drop us a message, drop us a tweet or something like that, and let us know.
Don't just say everyone off the Anfield app, because you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say as well, make it realistic, but fuck that. Like, tell us whoever you want, and we'll just send them a message.
Yeah.
I often do something I think about, like we've discussed social media loads, but something I do like about Twitter in particular is you can contact someone like really famous, and we could send them a message and tag the Late Challenge in, and everyone who follows us can just pile on and they'll just get bombarded with messages saying, come and host this fucking podcast.
I mean, to bring it back to the Anfield app again, that was very much a strategy during my time there. We used that one a lot, I think, in terms of getting people.
Trying to get people on, yeah.
It's just like, you know, let's get them on, and then people would say, yeah, come on, it'd be boss that. And then a lot of the time that would work. They'd eventually go, oh yeah, go on that, like.
Yeah. So, it happened to me randomly. I don't think I've told you about this. I remember once when I was using Twitter more, like a lot. And so I really like the Tim Ferriss podcast and his books and all that. And he asked, similar to this, anyone, any suggestions for good guests. And I also love Darren Brown. So I replied saying, love your shows, think you're great. And also love Darren Brown.
Yeah.
Like, think he'd be fucking brilliant, get him on. And I went to bed, and I woke up and my mate in Dubai had sent me a message on WhatsApp saying, looking forward to you opening your phone this morning, Lid. And Tim Ferriss had replied to my tweet saying, would love to get Darren Brown on the show. And then all of Tim Ferriss's followers like jumped on saying, get Darren Brown on. So Darren Brown and me obviously woke up to fucking thousands of notifications. No.
Ah,
which is shit, isn't it?
I know. I thought the end of the story was going to be, and he went on, and it was all down to Gopi.
Yeah, well, he ended up doing. I was really annoyed, like doing a bit annoyed because he ended up doing a bit of a podcast tour to. I think it was to advertise one of his Netflix shows, and he did Joe Rogan and a couple of other big podcasts, and didn't do Tim Ferriss. And I was like, "Fucking hell, lad!" What an end to the story that would be.
Would have been great, that I was going to say then, what's your most what's your your most random Twitter follower? Like where you've gone, oh, bloody hell, they follow me, dude. Yeah.
Oh, I had I thought I told you this. This is, I mean, well, that's a segue to a topic from comments last week for the end of the show. Gabby Logan, the BBC.
Yeah.
She followed me on Instagram, and when you see the notification, and I always remember thinking like, because there's a lad who he may watch, Robbie Fowler, who's Anfield Rap follower, and he's actually got in his bio not that one. Because whenever you see Robbie Fowler pop up, you're like, oh, Robbie Fowler. So I just thought, when I saw Gabby Logan pop up, I was like, it'll just be someone called Gabby Logan.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It was actually Gabby
the real
Logan.
One.
Yeah. Which is,
there you go.
It's all right, isn't it?
So she's consuming the Cope content.
Yeah. Well, she was. She might have fucked it off by now.
I had, still is, as far as I know, I had Boy George follow me.
Fucking hell. It's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah. And so
why? Where did that come from?
I don't know. Like, so it made me think, like obviously over
Big
the
red.
year. Yeah, I thought, is he a red on the sly? Like, and we were going to, we always did that, going on about the rap a lot today, aren't I? But, we'd have like content meetings or whatever, and you come up with a list of all possibilities of people you could potentially get on, or, left field ones. And I was like, well, I'll message Boy and ask him if he's a big red and if he fancies coming on, because he follows me. So I did do. I just said, all right, wondered if you're a Liverpool fan because you're following myself and all the red accounts I can see there. And, if you fancied if you are and you fancy talking about Liverpool for a bit of a change of direction, give us a shout, lad. But
no reply.
No reply, no.
One day we could do a show on all the people I've contacted over the years, and I will have forgotten most of them. I've got this thing that when I died, people talk about going to the pearly gates and all that. If that's all real, there'd be someone standing there going, fucking hell, lad, you sent a lot of random emails and messages out, didn't you? I used to just do it all the time, just thinking, fuck it. Because you never know. And the number of people I see saying that, like, you just never know when something will just hit someone's inbox and they're just in the right frame of mind. And I saw a fella on a podcast last week and he was talking about his big break in his career was messaging a billionaire in the States, Mark Cuban. And he got a reply. He literally got a reply within like 2 minutes because he just happened to be sitting at his computer. It happened to be something he was all right with. He read it, short email, and replied. And was like,
don't ask, don't care. There used to be a lad I worked with, doing a lot of tangential stuff already here, aren't we? But there used to be a lad I worked with,
typically,
who said, just wasn't art. And I reckon I took this on board quite a lot, actually. He was just never bothered by anyone's title, anyone's name, anyone's level of fame, anything like that. And he just used to say, like, they all go the bog.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And like, and that always stuck in my head, that. And so, like, when I met various people, like, footy related ones or whoever, I've always thought of that. I just thought, it doesn't matter. This is blah, blah, and they're the blah, blah, and they, all right, mate.
Yeah.
I don't need to change who I am. You're just you. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. But loads of people do that, don't they? Like in big organisations where you got structures acting a certain way because it's the deputy chief executive or the leader or
But
whatever.
I think it's the irony, in my experience anyway, because I'm like you. Like I've always just treated people very normally. And in my experience, it goes down amazingly because the higher someone gets, the less they have people doing that to them because they just have more people kissing their arse, telling them what they think they want to hear. Not what they, I love that, like people think I'm telling what they want to hear and you're like, you don't know what they want to hear. You haven't asked them. You're just guessing what they want to hear. And what most people who once you get higher up any chain wants to hear is from some fucking truth and authenticity.
Yeah.
So to have someone like taking the piss out of them, like, fucking hell, it's ages since anyone's done this. It's great. So it actually works really well, and it does the opposite of what most people who are kiss arses think, which is a nice little life lesson, isn't it, to take with you?
Yeah.
But yeah, that tangent aside, there will still be a Patreon show as always, so nothing changes there. It's only the free stuff that we'll cut back on. So let us know what you think of all of that. Give us ideas of people to get on. Anyone you think might like this stuff and might want to come on. And look, don't be. You can let us know what you think. But if you come to us complaining about getting less free stuff, I'm not sure. Well, I can tell you, I won't be listening. Robbo might have a chat with you. It's one of my favorite things, Joe. I think we talked about this on a Patreon show. When you give free stuff away, and then people complain you didn't give them enough free stuff, and you're like, it was free. And it wasn't free to me to give away. But anyway, to the football, because there was a massive football match yesterday as we record this. I'm back to that quote from Klopp. Dealing with defeat's not something we've had to do very much this season, is it?
No.
Amazingly, compared to considering where we came from last season. Especially in games that mean anything. Something I've said for a long time now is you're going to lose football games in a season, and actually losing games strategically is quite a powerful thing to do. So getting beaten like a dead rubber Champions League game or Europa League this year, it's actually good in a way, because it's sort of, I always feel like it cleanses the system, because you're going to get beat sooner or later. So just get beaten in a game doesn't matter. But it's only that Spurs game that we've lost that meant anything.
And that was due to the biggest calamity ever regarding VAR and the fact that we were down to 9 men
and obviously
with dodgy red cards.
Yeah, but that obviously can't be replayed, because that can't be done anywhere in Europe, can it?
You let it go. No, you let it go. Yeah. No, you let it go.
Yeah, obviously, apart from when it can be. So yeah, we're just going to have a big chat about it. Arsenal are now unbeaten. It's funny this, because I saw a stat. I was just looking back at last week, and there was a stat about us beating them. And it's funny how stats can just be manipulated, isn't it? Because Arsenal now unbeaten. The record we had was really good at going to the Emirates. We were unbeaten in 4 or something. But they're now unbeaten in their last 4 Premier League games against us. 1-2 drawn 2, which is their longest unbeaten run against us in the league since 2014-15 and 15-16.
Because it was
which they'd won 1 and drawn 3.
To slap the ball against the floor in the penalty area at Anfield. I won't let that go either.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what did you think of? What did you think of this one? Because it's funny. I was watching stuff, Joe, leading into it, and watching predictions and stuff, and there was no one predicting the Liverpool win in what I saw. But I thought we could win, and I was going back to, you looked at our fixtures to the end of the season last week or the week, well, probably the week before, before the Klopp stuff, and I remember you saying we could win every one of those games.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't even look at the Arsenal away game, but as I was reflecting on it, I was like, that's going to be our toughest game because of what's happened in the FA Cup, and the context of, which is what it did play out as I thought, how important it is to them.
Yeah.
Because
massive.
If they lose, they're fucked and they're out of it. And so going into it, it's funny, in the run up to the game, I was confident we'd beat them. Just because of the balance of the two teams, I just still think they're flawed. They've got flaws in them, which you saw again. And we've just become this ruthless side. But then as soon as I saw the starting lineups, I was just a little bit, because of the midfield with Gravenberch in, and the forward line without Nunes and Salah.
Yeah.
Because I know we've all sort of made peace with the fact Salah's not around for a while. But because Nunes has been so... It's funny that he still gets criticised, because for me, he is an unbelievable forward. Like, the impact he has on football matches is... I haven't said this out loud or thought this properly, but I don't think... But I'm not sure I've seen a player have an impact on football matches like him since Suarez. Do you know what I mean? Like, for someone who's just, when he's on the pitch, just creates shit. The number of times people criticise him for not finishing things, but you're like... Yeah, but that would never have even happened if he wasn't there. And I think we saw that a lot against Arsenal without him. The number of times Gakpo there were times when Gakpo was playing on the right-hand side and dropping in. And I'm like, if Nunes is there, he's just fucking making a run there and forcing something to happen. So what were your thoughts going into it?
Yeah, I was quite confident. I just thought, the opportunity to go 8 points clear, all the emotion that's been riding around, Jurgen Klopp's departure, the last 2 results as well. And, we played really well against Chelsea. I know there's a lot of Chelsea aren't very good going around. And obviously, they've been beaten again over the weekend, heavily by Wolves. But I was pretty confident. But then, same as you, when I saw the side, it did worry me a little bit in terms of, the things you've said already, that, the forward line-up, the midfield line-up, Gravenberch, even Trent, I was a bit like, well, where's he at? Do you know what I mean? And that sort of came home to roost as well. So there was worries about that, but equally, I think as soon as you saw the opening exchanges, you were a bit like, this doesn't look good. And I think because it meant so much to Arsenal, that's why you got their performance as well. And like I said to me, mate, it's like, you can actually hear their fans here. Do you know what I mean? Like that their fans were up for it, their players were up for it, and they came at us, and this time they put the ball in the back of the net and aided and abetted, obviously, by one of the maddest mistakes you'll ever see, really, from players that you don't normally expect it from. But you think about the FA Cup game, like, we rode our luck a little bit there in terms of they had chances, didn't take them, and then we went and won the game. This time, as I say, it ended up in the back of the net, and we didn't really create anything the other way. I did think, when we got the sort of almost Traore-esque own goal from Gabriel, I just thought, well, mate, it's still, it was that emotional thing of more like it's still on. It's still, if we can play that badly, create next to nothing, and come in at half time, and we've got a goal out of absolutely nowhere, it's just on. We're just on this. We're riding this mad wave, and it's come to an end. I don't see any reason why I can't sort of restart again. Not least because we've got a lot of players returning. Great to see, Thiago get some minutes. We talked, I mentioned already that, Trent didn't look at his best, but Trent is on his way back. Robbo's on his way back. Hopefully the hamstring for Szoboszlai isn't too serious, because we definitely missed him. But yeah, ultimately it was a step too far, wasn't it? But, going into it, I was pretty confident, to be fair. I think, a lot of the stuff I consumed pre-match said similar as well. I don't think there was much talk about, hang on, what happens if Arsenal win? Most people seem to be saying Liverpool are going to go in there, crash through them, and carry on. It's not turned out that way. And look, it was like, it was hard to take. Like, there's lots of mad crowing on social media that I saw, and I commented on it, and then I've ended up getting comments back, of course. But I just thought, like, some of the stuff I saw, like, from some Arsenal fans was just a bit wild. I thought, okay, like, you've won and that's great, and you put yourself back into a position where, yes, maybe you can challenge for the title, but, we're still top. You've still shown frailties across the season, and bigger picture, and this is the bit which probably got up people's noses. I said, like, you haven't won the league for 20 years. And you've never won the European Cup, so maybe just hang on a bit before you fully go. But that's not the world we live in now, is it? It's like 1 minute it's boss, 1 minute it's shit. And, let's not do that about our own side here. Like, we've been on an incredible run. We've referenced it over and over and over again on these shows that we didn't really expect this. It's been unbelievable what they've done. They deserve all the credit in the world, I think, in terms of attitude, spirit, fight. They've been second to none all season long, and they put themselves in a position where they can win the league. And if we go to, like, one of the main, contenders for the title, away from home, and lose in a circumstance where we haven't played well, we're still missing players, and there's a mad mistake between Virgil van Dijk, one of the best, if not the best centre-half in the world, and Alisson, again, one of the best, if not the best goalkeeper. Just one of them, as far as I'm concerned, and we go again. Do you know what I mean? I know lots of people don't like that phrase with what it's associated with, but that's got to be the attitude, surely. And we've got a series of games now that look incredibly winnable before we play Manchester City, which is absolutely huge. Always was huge, will remain so. Let's not shit the bed about this. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's funny, isn't it? Because I think when I saw you and it's sort of people talking about the some Arsenal fans' comments online, and I laughed to myself because I thought, yeah, and they're the same. Their fan base is the same as our fan base in the sense that I think that, next to us, they're the most represented online I've seen in the past. So what you're always going to get is the most extreme comments coming to the top.
course.
And it's why most people think Liverpool fans are bellends, because there's always that extreme. Like I saw people we know commenting on Liverpool fans shitting the bed, like you just said, because we've lost that game. And you're like, yeah, they're not. And other fans will be watching that on Twitter and going, and we're like, yeah, but that's not representative of most.
And we
Liverpool
know
fans,
this, don't we? But we still can't help ourselves. That's almost like, it's almost the genius of social media, isn't it? Like we talk about it all the time. And look, it's all well and good people saying to you, me, or anyone else, don't get sucked in. But it's fucking programmed to suck you in.
Yeah.
The documentaries are talking about how behind the scenes they made it suck you in.
Yeah.
Equally, the people who developed these fucking things, same. Like I honestly think as time goes on, we're going to see more and more books, podcasts, documentaries, whatever, about addiction around social media, around your phones and all that. Because it's absolutely wild. Like I've started a full tangent alert. I've started a full-time job. And those reports, I know you can turn them off. I leave them on because I like seeing them, because I want to say to myself, get off my fucking
stop
phone.
it. Yeah.
And so I'm working a full-time job, and I got a thing saying, your screen time is down last week by 10% or something. To only 5 hours, something or other. And I was like, oh, well, I'm only on my phone 5 hours a day.
Do you ever get them though and go, fuck off, I'm not?
I know, yeah.
Like, I often think that, 5 hours. No way. There's no way I'm on it 5 hours. But then if you stop and just think, every time you pick up your phone and do that
weird check thing,
just check it. No notifications, but I'll just scroll through and check. Every time you do that, that's all adding up. And I think that's more frightening than anything else, because I use my phone to watch YouTube on and listen to Spotify and all that. So I always justify those numbers. Like, well, of course I'm choosing, but I'm choosing to use it. But I think if it broke it down to the number of times you're just picking it up to look at it, separate to stuff you're actually wanting to do, that would be the more frightening number, wouldn't it? Because that's probably like 2 hours a day.
It does that,
Oh, does it?
Yeah, you break into it. It tells you how many times you picked it up.
Yeah,
but yeah, like, so, I did like a sensible reaction to it initially, saying, look, it's hard to take. It's tough to take when two of your best performers are at the centre of an uncharacteristic moment as well, and that sort of swung the game. But we're in 4 competitions. We're all right. We've got players coming back. We live to fight another day, type of thing. And I should have just left it there, shouldn't I? But then later, a couple more pints in, I had seen like a variety of mad things. Loads of people replying to Carragher. And the stuff that triggered me was all this stuff as though like Liverpool are now shit, basically. You know what I mean? Like they've been shit all season. They're not even any good. You were lucky in the FA Cup game. You got what you deserved. We're boss. We're great. And I'm like, that's just not realistic. You don't win as many games as Liverpool have this season without being a good side. And like your own manager, lads, has said, apparently we're like the best team, one of the best teams in Europe. He's gone down that road again, hasn't he?
Yeah.
In his post-match press conference. So what are we then? And look, I know when I get it, like it's almost like I need like a little coach with me saying, come on, lads, why they're saying it? They want you to react. And like, I'm still trying to do, like I said, I talked about it on here the other week, didn't I? About sort of, I'm still trying to do the thing of just throwing a little reply, mute, move on, like sort of like Liam Gallagher. And like, look, I'm a fan of Oasis. I've made that known before. I've got all the stuff. I've been to see them. I've been to see him on his own, his brother on his own, whatever. He's a tool about football on social media. And like, it always triggers me. And he said something like, how they'll all be like Klopp out or forget Klopp or fuck Klopp or whatever he said. Burn his house down or something. And I was like, well, would you burn the real people's house down? Because Klopp's an inspiration. You don't burn an inspiration's house down, do you? And, a few people like to whatever. But again, why am I asked about what he's putting? He's putting it on there for react. But I don't know. It's that, if there's a psychologist there, it'd just be telling you about different parts of your brain. And or you can use the whole chimp thing. And the chimp is most likely to jump out of its cage immediately on the final whistle when you haven't played well, when you've lost a crucial game, when you thought you were going to be 8 points clear at the top of the Premier League and you're not, when you've got City there being horrible, being cheats, being 115 charges, just lurking below the surface, waiting to pounce again, waiting to bore the arse off us all again by winning another league, and everyone goes sound, and we all go on holiday and don't give a shit and don't read any papers. That's there as well. I think that's why people are touchy and on edge as well. So yeah, that's today's rant brought to you by Gareth.
That's the end of TLC. No, but it's. I think that's all fair, to be honest, mate. Like, there is so much behind it. But the thing for me with Arsenal fans, and of course some of them will get carried away, and the other side of us is we are people often who say get carried away, enjoy it, fucking love it, and all that.
I know.
And at the same time, I said this the other day, Joe, of all the fucking stuff I've studied now and all the stuff I've seen and all the fucking stuff I talk about with people and all the stuff I do in my own life, I'm constantly trying to just boil it down to like very simple things. And I said to my girlfriend the other day, I went, do you know what it comes down to? Always balance. That's it. Joe, you look to like Joe Eastern philosophies and that, and like where life is like more peaceful and content, and they're not mad like we are in the West. That's all it ever comes down to. It's like, should I eat ice cream? And they're like, yeah, eat a bit of ice cream, yeah. Just don't eat fucking 10 litres of it every day. Should I bevy? Yeah, have a bevy if you want one, yeah. Just don't fucking become an alcoholic. Should I just give it up completely? No, because if you enjoy it, have a bit of it. Just a bit of balance. And it's the same with this. Like, yeah, fucking enjoy your win and think you might win the league and get behind your team and all that. And fucking just keep a little bit of a lid on it, because, you know,
it's one game.
It's one game and it's 3 points.
It's a big game.
Yeah, of course. And at the end of the day, I think might have been Neville in the commentary said at the end of the game, which is, I said a couple of weeks ago, and them having won it is definitely this point now. He was like, that's the bell been rung for the last lap of a race. Do you know what I mean? We're all there now. City have got, as we record this, City have got 2 games in hand, one tonight away to Brentford.
Yeah.
We expect them to win games like that, but you never know. That falls into the tricky, that falls into the tricky game. But we've got them away as well.
Youth of home again, lad.
Yeah, imagine. But we're all there now, and we're all in the race. And Carragher said after the game, and I agreed with him, the people happiest with that win was City. Because if you ask, I don't care what Arsenal fans are saying, if you ask Pep Guardiola, I guarantee he'd be like, yeah, Liverpool are more likely to beat us to the title than Arsenal. Why? They've done it before.
Yeah.
They know how to do it. Arsenal still haven't proved they can.
And there is the ride of, you know, there is the wave of emotion which he doesn't like. There is the Anfield, which he's got to bring his side to.
He's got to come to Anfield,
yeah,
and
exactly.
Arsenal's still got to go to City. That's big. Like in a title race, that is big, that you've got to go away to them and we play them at home. That is a big deal. In the same way that also, if they'd had to come to Anfield yesterday, it would have been a different fucking game, even with our players out. So there is all that in it.
And we faced a different beast, you know, equally the other way around. That's what I was trying to say before, probably badly, and went off on some mad tangents. But, you know, their ground was up for it. Their players were up for it. They pressed unbelievably high. And I think one of the problems for us, you mentioned it before about Nunes, you know, we didn't have like an outball alternative. We kept trying to play out when playing out wasn't working. And it was like, I thought we did that a little bit at City away. And obviously we ended up getting a draw there. So that was a decent enough result. But we did that a bit there. And it's a bit like, you know, there are circumstances where you're playing a side that are good and a side that are on it and up for it and that, yeah. And there's nothing wrong with going long in that circumstance and getting yourself up the pitch and giving everyone a little bit of a breather. I don't give a shit if that's like not pure or not fucking the current, you know, the current trend in football or whatever. And, you know, it was a shame with, like, people said, you know, seen a lot of people say, I'm surprised he didn't start Nunes. I heard that on the radio just driving up here. And I was like, well, he was injured.
Yeah.
Like, it was well known, it was publicised that he was injured. And then it wasn't as bad as they first thought. But, you know, he's probably had all kinds of injections and whatever to even be able to play as a sub. So it's not that mad. Do you know what I mean? And I know there's the thing of most of them are patched up in some way, you know, week after week. You know, hardly any of them are ever 100% fit because of the mad schedule that they have to play. But, you know, equally you've got sports scientists there who know all the information that we never will. And that was the decision that was made. But yeah, I thought we were struggling to get out, and then we sort of kept kept making the same mistakes over and over. Like the pattern of play was like, there's a goal coming, lads, and then a goal.
Do you think on that basis, because as I was watching, it was funny because Klopp after the game in the Sky interview said, obviously you can, with hindsight, you can make any changes, but without hindsight, he would have picked the same team again. But he also referenced that right-hand side was a brand new triangle, like Trent, Gravenberch, Gakpo. And I was watching thinking, yeah, but I think you got that wrong. Like, I want to have a little chat about Gravenberch, but let's say you've already decided to play Gravenberch. For me, what makes more sense, especially because you know how the last game went, and Arsenal are going to come at you, the crowd's going to be up, they're going to want to dominate the middle of the pitch. What would have made sense for me, taking on what you've just said as well about that out ball, was to play Jota on the right-hand side because he's got more pace about him, and play Gakpo in the middle so that he can do the Firmino role effectively and drop into midfield and give us the extra numbers in midfield, because Gakpo's never making those runs beyond, is he? And I think we work best often when our quicker players are making runs from outside to in, and that's where we break into the box and stuff like that. So for me, I was a bit like, I think he got it a bit wrong with the lineup, even with the players he's picked. What do you think of that? I think it's weird to say it as well. And this, I mean, we've talked about him a little bit in the past few weeks, but it fucking speaks volumes about Conor Bradley, how well he has broken into this team, that we're already looking at it going, God, you miss his fucking pace and energy, don't you? And his intensity. I think the big thing, because look, there is no doubting Trent's ability and how important he is to us as a footballer. But the difference in intensity, and I know he's just come back from injury as well, but even a fully fit Trent is not as intense as a footballer. It's a bit like Virgil van Dijk, is it? Virgil van Dijk's never going to be an intense footballer. That's just not his style. Conor Bradley's style of that intensity into the press and jumping onto everything, we really missed that down that side as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's like a Robbo on the other side, basically, isn't he?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was unfortunate, and obviously, in the circumstances, like, footy doesn't really matter. He's lost his dad, and poor lad, and obviously, you know he's okay and everything else. But absolutely, in terms of the the football, obviously, yeah, the timing of it, in terms of who we can line up with at Arsenal, it had an effect, obviously. And yeah, the Gravenberch thing, was a bit of a, has he done enough to be trusted in a game like that? I think probably the only reason he's picking him over Elliott really is height. That's the only sort of argument I can see, because I don't really see that Elliott's let anyone down this season. Quite the opposite, in fact. You know what I mean? He's being good, particularly coming off the bench. And maybe that was part of the thinking as well. Maybe it was like, we'll put the taller lads out there, weather a bit of a storm, and then maybe that was always the plan. Yeah. That Harvey was
winning
coming
off the bench. Well, I did think that before the game as well. When you looked at the two benches, I did think, and when we got that goal at half time, I thought we're going to win this game, because it's the same pattern as the FA Cup game. They're going to be dejected, and we've got the lads. Our bench is better than theirs.
That's our best.
I think that's the problem.
Of the game, in it, 15 minutes of the second half. We're decent, we're good, and you're like, we're in it. This isn't like the first half. Yeah. They look like it's affected them mentally. The fact that they've dominated the first half and they've come in level from an absolute howler, from something you can't legislate for, and then we offered them the path back.
I think that's almost the worst thing about the mistake, isn't it? Or the two mistakes, is that we were on top, we'd silenced them, the crowd had gone, their heads had gone, and that's. We'll talk about this at the end, like the run in for the three sides now. But that's where I still question them. Arteta after the game said to them at half time, you can't feel sorry for yourselves because these are going to come and get you for the next 15 minutes. And then he admitted themselves, for 10 minutes we battered them.
Yeah, they did.
Like, that didn't help you, did it? That team talk didn't work.
I thought that as well. When I heard that, I was like, you sort of, you're telling us a story that we didn't see with our own eyes there. You can say whatever you said at half time. It didn't work, mate.
Yeah.
Because Liverpool came out the better side at the start of the second half. And the reason you won the game is that it was handed to you on a plate. It was gifted to you. And look, Van Dijk's just had one of those days, hasn't he? I mean, it's not just, the mix up with Alisson. It's, he was stepping out early on and that, not winning the ball. He was, I didn't think he was great on Trossard's goal either.
Well, he's poor on all three of them. Because
Yeah.
I was going to say to you, in the first goal, even I think him, Canate, and Gomez all questionable because Van Dijk just gets lost in no man's land in the middle of the pitch, doesn't he? Like you can see him hesitate. You can literally, when you watch it back, you see him hesitate and then go, "I'll go and press." And you're like, "No, now you've hesitated, mate. It's too late to go and press the ball. You need to drop." Then Canate. It was interesting, the way Canate played the game, considering Joe, he'd had that one-on-one with Martinelli early on, where Martinelli just showed him he's not as fast as him. Like, Martinelli just burns him off with the ball.
He was ahead of him when it went through, though, wasn't he? It wasn't like they weren't side by side. But
no, for that one. But what I mean is, for me, like, once you've had that first one, and this is probably going old school, right? And I'm sure if Klopp and Linders were standing there, they'd be like, but that's not what we tell them to do. So, fuck you, you're wrong. But if that was Jamie Carragher, I reckon he'd be saying, yeah, in the first minute, Martinelli's burnt me off. So for the rest of the game, I'm giving him 2 yards. Do you know, I'm making sure I'm 2 yards deeper than him because he's faster than me. And there's nothing I can do about that. Like I was listening, I know, completely different level, but I was talking about this the other day about someone like, as a young lad, I was a decent footballer, but I was slow. And the people who I just couldn't play against were the people who just figured out I was slow. And they just kick the ball past me and run.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, fuck now then, aren't I? And I think that's where the likes of Carragher go, right, I'll just adapt for this game then. And I don't think we see enough of that. But again, I'm happy to be told that's bullshit because that would change your entire game and you've got to press and all the rest of it. But I actually thought Gomez was poor on it as well because once he's through one-on-one with Alisson, there's nothing Gomez can do about that. But Saka's there. So just go and fucking look after Saka and look after any rebound. And if Martinelli scores, it's not on you. But back your keeper. Your keeper's the best one-on-one goalkeeper in the world. And you haven't. He got caught in two minds and he got drifted. He got pulled towards the ball. So then he couldn't pick up the rebound. So I think they were all poor for that. And it comes back to what I said before about, you're going to lose some games. I saw someone else say online, like, Alisson throws in one of them a year. So it's just unfortunate he threw it in against Arsenal.
And even when you break it down, like, when you micro-analyze it, it's sort of like, it's so close to work, and even though it's wild, isn't it? Sort of like, he connects with Van Dijk rather than the ball, doesn't he? And,
it just shows you how, like, it's always in, like, football.
Martinelli's nudged Van Dijk as well, hasn't he?
But it's like, we're talking inches, aren't we?
Yeah. I know. I mean, I'm not sure. Like, my initial analysis of it was, or my initial thought when I first seen it live was just like, well, why is Alisson come for that? Do you know what I mean? Because what I get the analysis, which Van Dijk said himself of it. I shouldn't have let it bounce.
Yeah.
But then equally, I looked at it. As I say, be honest. What did you first think when you first saw it? When I first saw it, I thought, why is Alisson come? And then I also thought, I'm not that sure I'd volley Van Dijk as much as he was also volleying himself, because that's how he plays. And like, I kind of think if he's looking at Martinelli, he knows that physically he should have the run of him. And okay, he give him the little nudge, and that seemed to affect where he ended up. But and it all went his way, and he didn't. From his perspective, if you're doing an Arsenal podcast, you're probably saying fair play to him for not giving up on what looked like a lost cause. But what I'm saying with Van Dijk is we're used to him using his body, turning on it, and using the opportunity to find a Liverpool player to, ping one of his long balls, whatever. He doesn't just blam things. He's not an old school. He's not Stefan Henshaw. Do you know what I mean? He's Virgil van Dijk, this classy player who brings things down. He'll take someone on. He'll find a Liverpool player. He'll start an attack. And that's what we're used to. And every now and again, it'll go tits up. And it went tits up. Same, and as you say, same with Alisson. Like, going back to the internet being wild, like, we talked about, didn't we, ages back, about, how good Alisson is, how vital he's been this season, the number of times he's bailed us out and all that. And I was saying, I think he's the best goalie I've seen. And it made me laugh that someone last night, post that mistake, has commented on, gone back, found the clip where we said that, and commented on saying he's shite with his feet and all this. And it's like, what? Because of that? Like, fucking hell. Biggest case of recency bias ever. Like,
I know.
So, it's hard because of the emotion involved, and because of what you invest, and because of, what you were starting to look at. We were all getting this tunnel vision, of, like hearts and flowers on the final day and 4 trophies and all the rest of it. These things are never going to be easy, are they? And like, if your first bump in the road, really, bar when you got absolutely shafted by the referees, no, you let it go, is in February. You've done all right then, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it was funny because Klopp said something after the game as well about, if you want to ask someone about how to win a league, you're probably best not asking me, because the truth is I usually finish second. And there's something like so poignant about him saying that. But it just actually made me think, and everyone, I think all Liverpool fans should take a breath here and go, look, what is the most likely outcome of this season? Forget that he's leaving. The most likely outcome is we finish second by a point. That's the most likely thing to happen, because that's what usually fucking happens when we go up against City in a title race. Yeah. So if we want to beat them, we know what we have to do, especially now that we lost that game. We know. And I think we almost need to go back to the start of the season we won it. I think you mentioned this last week, Joe, we'd lost the year before, and everyone involved in Liverpool that year, that summer, basically went, well, we know what we've got to do. We've just got to win every fucking game.
Yeah.
And I think that needs to be the conversation again. So like, look, forget the fucking emotion. Forget all the lovely bits and the loves and hearts, as you say. If we want this to end the way we want it to end for this fucking, last dance theme that's developed, then there's only one way we can guarantee that happens. And that's to start with Burnley. We've got a week to reset, and then we're sprinting. And we're sprinting the last fucking lap. And we're going as fast as we fucking can. And we've got all the lads come back. Something I was going to raise earlier. It was interesting. Like I thought before the game in his press conference, Klopp had referenced how we've actually been quite fortunate that when players have been missing, someone else has come in. And then literally even like we had Robbo was out, but we had Tsimikas. And then even when Tsimikas got injured, Gomez stepped up. Then when Trent got injured and Conor Bradley comes from nowhere to fucking step in. When McAllister was injured, Endo was there. And when Endo had to go away, McAllister came back from injury.
Missed him, I reckon, by the way.
100%. Yeah. But I actually feel like, and it was interesting that he almost tempted fate by saying all that. I feel like this was the game where it all sort of ran out of a bit of steam. It just looked like it was one game too far. And the problem was, it's your second hardest game of the season that it's happened in.
Yeah.
We just could have done with Mo Salah on the pitch. We could have done with Szoboszlai on the pitch. We could have done with a fully fit Robertson and a fully fit Trent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, everything sort of seemed to come at the wrong time, didn't it? And I think that's absolutely fair. But equally, I was looking at quotes from Klopp before to get that one. I sort of semi-remembered that one, looked it up, the one that's on the board about I always want it loud. Talking about his football, but there's another one in there where he talks about like analysis of teams. He says like if you win, no one ever mentions the team, and if you lose, everyone wants to know why you picked X or Y, and that's where we are. There's been plenty of teams this season that he's almost had his hand forced, hasn't he? And then it's been Klopp genius when kids have performed well, or Conor Bradley's performed well, or McConnell, or whoever else. And it did seem that this time, options ran out a little bit, and if on a few of the choices, his hand was forced. I don't think he would have ideally wanted to have played Trent, but he wasn't left with much choice. Gomez, like I wrote a piece at the end of last week and saying like, he for me, he's been a bit of an unsung hero, Gomez. Like, lots of other people have attracted loads of praise. He's been a bit of a sort of Swiss Army knife, asking him to fill in here, there and everywhere. And he's not really let anyone down. Yesterday, I thought he looked a bit goosed, a little bit off it, got a daft booking, didn't he, and that kind of thing. And yeah, there was too many of them yesterday where they just didn't look on it. They didn't look on it as a group. They didn't look on it individually. And yeah, the options looked a little bit limited, didn't they? We had 2 goalies on the bench as well, didn't we?
I saw that. I think it's little things like that. You can just spot that before the game.
Yeah.
There's just that little thing in the back of your mind, like we're stretched here.
Yeah.
We couldn't even put a full bench out,
and
basically.
Like, you saw like, it's boss, don't get me wrong, now there's a pathway to the first team for the youngsters and all the rest of it. But like when you're looking at those options in a huge game where, like I said before, opportunity to go 8 points clear, great for Bobby Clark, etc., but they're not players where you're going to go, bring him on then and expect him to turn the game, expect him to perform. And that's sort of where we were at. But look, there's 15 games to go. There's 15 games of the Premier League season to go. And City, okay, we all expect them to just rattle off every single game, win every game, go unbeaten till the end of the season, because that's what they do. But it's not certain that's what they do, because nothing in footy is certain, as we've just seen here. And like, for all that, the competition is a bit bent these days and a bit twisted, and you're taking a knife to a gunfight, or whatever the phrase you want to use. There's still a level of uncertainty. There's still, the ball can run the wrong way. There's still, minute decisions or injuries or whatever. So I just hope everyone just sort of keeps the faith here and keeps their heads a little bit. I was a bit fucked off, don't get me wrong, in the immediacy of the result. And like I said before, go off and argue with people on Twitter. But today I just got up and thought, well, you know what? Like, we're still all right here. We're in 4 competitions. We've got a chance of winning every single one of them. And we're in February. And as I've said a million times on here, time was that we wanted to be in contention for things at fucking Christmas. So, we're doing all right. We're sound. We've got a great manager, a manager that we love, a manager that we want to see with silverware in his hand at the end of the season. So let's get behind the Reds. Let's make it loud for them. Let's make it loud for them. Let's give it our all, and let's not get consumed by any other shite. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely. And look, it's worth looking at the fixtures coming up, because when I just got the 3 of us, Arsenal and City, because I think everyone would admit now it's a 3-horse race. And I was looking at going, okay, so who do we play?
Yeah, but what about Villa and Tottenham?
Yeah. Well, it's funny, isn't it? We had that chat a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, about are any of them in it? And you're like, well, Spurs dropped points again at the weekend, didn't they? And you're like, well, the both of those sides don't know what it's like. And this is the thing about Arsenal. To be in this type of race with City is just a different beast. These races with City have never been before, and never been seen before in the history of English football. That's how rare they have been. The head-to-heads we've had with them in those 3 seasons or 4 seasons, it's just a completely different animal. But I was looking at it and thinking, right, so I think we've got 4 games before we play City at home. We play Burnley at home next week. Then we're away to Brentford. We're home to Luton, and we're away to Forest. And I'm looking at that thinking, well, I think they're 4 must-win games if you're going to win the league. In that same spell, they've got 6, because they've still got to play tonight, which is 1, and then they play the game in hand as well. So Man City, before they play us, are away to Brentford. They're home to Everton. This is something else about City. Whenever I look at Man City's fixture list, no matter what season it is, it always looks like there's something wrong with it. They've got 3 home games on the run then, and you're like, how does that fucking happen? But anyway, they're home to Everton, home to Chelsea, home to Brentford. So you would expect them to win all of that. Then they're away to Bournemouth and home to Man United before they play us. So I would say in a normal Man City at their best season, they win all 6 of them. But there's games in there where you're like, But in fairness, there's games in ours where they'd look at and go, well, maybe Liverpool might drop points away at Brentford, or maybe we drop points away to Forest. We've done that before. But if they win all 6 of theirs and we win all 4 of ours, we go into the game at Anfield, if I'm right, with them a point ahead. So if we beat them, we go 2 points clear, and there'll be 10 games left. So we'd be 2 points clear of them. And imagine if at the start of the season, we'd have said on the 9th of March, you'll be 2 points ahead of Man City at the top of the league. Of course you would. You'd bite everyone's hands off for it, wouldn't you? Now, I know there's a lot of ifs, buts and maybes.
Yeah, but, what did you expect at the start of the season when, there's a big clear out, there's loads of players that leave, some planned, some not planned, new players coming in. I remember going to Preston, the friendly, before a ball was kicked in the actual season. No one was talking about titles. No one was talking about win all 4. No, none of this current discussion.
No.
And the story that Liverpool have opened up by, doing what they've done and being brilliant doing so. None of that was taking place then. So, you know what, let's sort of remember that before we pile onto our own club and start hammering the manager or the players or anyone else. And with City, look, they're on an unbeaten run of 11, I think it is, all comps. But, you look through and there's this, they've had players coming back, De Bruyne being the big one, obviously, and then people's just seeing like, these relentless results start to clock up and saying, oh, here we go again, they're going to do it again. But they drew with Palace in the league on the 16th of December. It's not that long ago. They drew with Tottenham. They got beat by Aston Villa. They drew with Chelsea. Well, they drew with us.
And as someone pointed out to us a couple of weeks ago, let's say we win all four and they win all four, and we beat. I know this is a big if, but we beat them at Anfield. Off the back of our game, which is the 9th of March, their run then is Brighton away, Arsenal home, Villa home, and they've still got to go to Spurs, which is a couple of weeks after that. Their March and April is tough. And throw into that, they've got Champions League to play, and we've got Europa League, which is Thursday, Sunday, and people always talk about that. But the reality is, the Europa League is less demanding on you than the Champions League. We know that. And they'll want to win another Champions League. So it is still there, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the mad thing is, it is still in our hands. If we win, and can they say the same thing? Yeah, because if they win at Anfield, if we win all our games, we win the league. And our game includes the home game against City. If they win all their games, they win the league. But their list includes an away game against us. So that's harder, just in itself.
I mean, our odds have gone out a bit, haven't they, as you would expect after that one. But there's still I think, about 5-2, I think I saw today.
Yeah, so the list I saw, and obviously varies, but City 4-6, us 11-5, Arsenal 5-1. So I was going to ask you that. Where do you see Arsenal in this now? Do you see them as genuine contenders? Because I was looking at their fixtures as well. And this is the funny thing, they're away at West Ham next week. I could see them getting beat at West Ham. Because that wouldn't surprise me at all with Arsenal. But they've got, let's have a quick look through their fixtures. They've still got Newcastle at home to play. They're away to City, obviously, as we've said. They're away to Brighton. They've got to play Villa at home. They're away to Spurs, which is obviously a local derby for them as well. And they're away to United, second to last game of the season.
Yeah, they put themselves back in it, no doubt about that. I mean, I think the sort of pre-match chat from most of the pundits and in the papers and all that kind of stuff, that if Liverpool had gone there and won, they were out. They were done. And I think, they poured everything into the game, and that's one of the reasons that they've come away, allied to the mistakes and Liverpool's, poor performance. But the back in it. But I think I'm like what you seem to be saying. I'm still not wholly convinced by them, because they need to go on. When I said last week or whatever it was, I can see Liverpool winning every one of these fixtures. Well, I stand by that, because I think if Liverpool had played at their best and had the availability of certain players, we would have seen a better performance, and there was every chance they could have won. I don't think that analysis came from nowhere, and I don't think it was alone in saying it. But when you look at Arsenal, do you have the same confidence? Do you look at their list like that and go, they can win every one of them? I don't.
No, I don't.
And, they've already, you mentioned you've already lost to West Ham this season. They lost to Fulham this season, haven't they? They lost to Villa, lost to Newcastle. I don't know. Maybe I'm being harsh. Maybe it's because I'm a red. Maybe it's because I'm biased. All of those things. But they still feel flakier than us, I would say.
Well, I would say, looking at them yesterday against us, they had Jesus missing, but all season they've had an issue with scoring goals and being ruthless. Jesus doesn't change that, does he?
No.
So when you look at what they've got available to them for the rest of the season, the type of side they are, will they dominate a lot of games? Yes. Will they score enough goals to win a league from here? I'm just not sure they will. Even think about that entire game and all the stuff we've talked about. We basically played 10, 15 minutes in that game to anywhere near our potential, which was the start of the second half. And they still didn't put us to bed. They still didn't batter us. They only went ahead because I know our equaliser was a gift as well, so we need to say that. But they only went ahead again in the second half because we gave them an unbelievable gift. And then the goal at the end to wrap it up, you're like, fucking hell. I know you're all losing your heads because you've scored late to wrap it up, and that's a nice way to win a game. But that only happened because we'd already made subs to risk to roll the dice to win. Then Canate got sent off, And it's like, even in the commentary, Neville went.
That was harsh.
Do you know what it's like for the sending off?
Yeah.
But I was just going to say, but even in the commentary, it's like, oh, how did he get in down that side? And even Neville went, because they've got no right back and no right-sided centre-back on the pitch. It's literally no one there. So, and then even then, it was a deflection off Van Dijk that took it through Alisson's legs. So when you look at Arsenal, you think, but you still didn't knock us out the park, even with the home advantage and the crowd on your side.
They deserved it. You can't say they didn't.
100%.
You know, on the, you know, you look at all the stats, you look at how the game went, you look with your eyes, you look in terms of the mistakes Liverpool made, etc. Liverpool's level of performance. You can't say they didn't deserve to win that one game. I wouldn't say they deserved. You know, I would say we should have beat them at Anfield.
Yeah.
And as we talked about before, I know we would have been on a different timeline in life had we been given the penalty we deserved in that game. I think, as I say, I think the red card was a little bit harsh. But, you know, given what happened to Canate against Everton.
So what did you see? There's been Evertonians amazingly, like,
I think we can say
amazingly
it's balanced itself out that one.
Yeah.
And we'll just sort of quietly move on and say, yeah, in terms of him and red cards, one of them.
Yeah. But I think my view on it is, and this is where I'm coming from really, they're as good as they're going to be now. Like, they haven't got some amazing striker coming back that's going to change their side, is my point. We've got Robbo and Trent back, who now just need to get up to fitness. Thiago back out the blue after all these many months out. He just needs to get back up to fitness. We've got Big Dom, who hopefully the latest injury isn't a big one. We've got Salah on his way back, Endo returning from the Asia Cup. So we are pretty much going to be going into this final stretch at full strength with lads who've had a bit of a break as well. Same with City. They're going into this final stretch with De Bruyne back, which they didn't have earlier in the season. That's a big difference to Arsenal, where they haven't got these big guns that need to come back and are going to come back.
If you just look at their fairly recent form, like, you know, I heard something before saying, like, you know, oh, well, they've won 3 consecutive games in the Premier League. Great.
Yeah.
But you know, like I heard it sort of characterised as, so their blip is over. And I was like, well, okay. So 5-0 against Crystal Palace, 2-1 away to Forest, and then they've beaten us for all the caveats that we already made about how Liverpool performed and the gift. But before those 3, well, they've lost to us in the FA Cup. They've lost to Fulham in the Premier League. They've lost at home to West Ham in the Premier League. They've drawn at Anfield. You know, they've lost to Aston Villa in December. You know, so I think if you're still saying you're not convinced by them, that's not like some kind of biased viewpoint, is it?
No.
Equally, if you put an Arsenal fan on the radio, like I heard driving in this morning, he's going to say, well, we deserve to win against Liverpool. We probably should have beat them in the FA Cup. We had our chances then, we didn't take them. You know, we march on. But even that, even like the sort of, you know, the rose-tinted glasses analysis that you're going to get from an Arsenal fan, same as you get from a Liverpool fan talking about Liverpool, by the way. I'm not saying I'm above that.
Yeah.
He said, but then there's City. And like everyone's living that life, aren't they? Like every footy fan is living that life of going, and then there's City, and then there's City. So boring. So boring hearing about them, and their omnipresence is boring. It's shit. Like, do something about them. Fucking sort this thing out. Sort the charges thing out one way or another. Either punish them or drop it and tell us why you're dropping it. You know, like, but just leaving it hanging. And this weird football reality that we live in, where, you know, like, if we don't win the league this season, I won't be that disappointed, genuinely, because I've thought we've got a chance because of the way things have gone. But like he said on the radio this morning, and then there's City, and if they win it, I'll just go, well, what are you meant to do? You know, how did you characterise it that time, or on one of the previous shows where you said, like, you know, it's like Lance Armstrong, essentially.
Yeah.
And it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I genuinely don't care if you're a City fan. I think we've got rid of most of them now. There used to be some that watched or listened.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any City fan this deep into the show. But you used to get the odd bit back, didn't we? But it feels like they've given up, well, certainly with us.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. It's funny when I watch City fans sort of defending it, and they always defend it on like in the same way that top criminals defend themselves. It's the same type of language. Do you know what I mean? Well, it's for you to prove, and you're like, yeah. We know that. We know it's for the person prosecuting to prove. What we're saying is get it done. Like, do it. There's 115 charges for a reason. Sort it out. Because I think that's the worst thing about all of this now, and we've covered this in depth on previous shows, which go back and look at the
why
show
the
we
Premier
did.
League is fucked.
Yeah. But there's a deeper sadness in this, isn't it? Let's say this is a world in which we do go head to head with them again and we lose the league by 1 point, and it's in Klopp's last season. Then Klopp's tenure as Liverpool manager is basically punctuated by losing to them in very fine margins on a number of occasions. And imagine if in 2 years they finally do what they need to do and they do prosecute them and they retrospectively take points off them or awards, trophies, and it's like,
do that.
And imagine they go like Juventus that time. So Klopp won 4 Premier Leagues, and we all go fuck off. I think that's how we'd react, isn't it? You just can fuck off.
I wouldn't want it.
We don't want them.
We've talked about that before, I think, haven't we? And that's being floated out there, and it's one of the things you might hear on radio discussion show or whatever. But I'd never want that. Like if they just suddenly said, "Oh, we're just going to change the record books given how these charges have gone, and we'll award you a title from years ago." Yeah, shove it up your ass.
Pointless. Yeah.
Because the whole thing about it is the season-long journey, is the ride, is the being involved weekend to weekend, is the feeling that you might have a chance, then you're feeling when you do it, all of that. That's what it's about. And like to just be awarded it in some kind of like admin-y way. Like, would you go and have a pint then? Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
that's the point, yeah.
Yeah, shite.
Yeah, definitely. I think
I'd rather just see them lashed in the conference.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page with that. But look, we're out of time. So let's finish on some positives. We've got big players coming back. We've got a big end of the season to come.
We can still do
it all. That's what she said. And we didn't even mention this, that apparently the new Annie Road's going to be hopefully open to 60,000 fans, which will be our biggest ever attendance, which is mad, isn't it? Like I thought back in the day, doing all the rose-tinted stories about Anfield back in the day, when it was loads of standing, and I thought we'd have had a bigger attendance than that, but it would be our
Wolves, I think.
59 something.
Yeah.
It's the biggest one. So if it gets open, then it still won't be at full capacity, because I'm thinking it's going to go up to a 61 something. Yeah. But we could have a practical full house to end this season, which I think will be a big deal as well, won't it? Get, those
100%.
A few more thousand Liverpool fans in there.
It's felt a little bit like, it's certainly, I know there's more in now, but when you were looking at, where my viewpoint, if you like, my standpoint when I'm looking at the Annie Road, it's weird.
Yeah, it takes something off because they're all those empty seats.
And like, I think I read out something I got from a Man United fan about, when there was all discussion around Anfield, and he said it was weird. He said it feels like that stand or the emptied stand is sucking away some of the sound or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've often thought that.
I think he had something.
Because your brain doesn't go, oh, those seats are empty because no one can sit there. Your brain goes, why are the seats empty?
Yeah.
Empty seats always make a ground feel weird, because it's like, why isn't the ground full?
100%.
So I think that will make a big difference. So there's a big opportunity here to still big push to the end of the season. We haven't got time to go into the other stuff we were going to go into. So if you want to come and join us on the Patreon show, we're going to get stuck into talking about footy players celebrating games. There are some funny comments from last week. One in particular which made me laugh about me and the shit I say on the show. So if you want to come and listen to all of that, you can get a free trial. There are over 40 shows on our Patreon now, and if you go sign up for the free trial, you can listen to or watch all of them. So I was going to say it's value for money, but you don't need to pay anything. So it's a fucking bargain. If you want to do that, there's a link underneath this show. Click on that. Go and click on the join for free button, whatever it is. It should be self-explanatory. If it's not, let us know and we'll do a little explanatory video to tell you how to do it. Because I know our demographic. There's some of us struggle with tech, don't we? We sometimes get messages and we're like, yeah, we're with you. So let us know if you struggle and you want to sign up, and we'll let you know how to do it. That's it. Thank you for supporting us. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.